Um, right. The third point we wanted to cover today is move on and overlook mistakes. So there's a beautiful saying of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It says, Al-Muslimu man salima al-Muslimuna min lisani wa yadi. So there's many different ways you can translate it, and but there's a sense of it that a person who's like a peaceful person who's looking to spread good and peace in the world, that person is safe from another person like that, from their tongue and their actions and their hands. So if we want to live up to that standard, then we really need to watch what we're saying to each other at home. And it's especially difficult in the family, right? That's why the Prophet also said the best among us is the one that is best to their family. And they did say that for a reason, because there's, when we are out and about and with other people, it's easy to be good to your friend because you're having fun with them, because you like them. But it's more and more harder with the people who you live with on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great example there. A beautiful piece of tradition there, saying that that's how us as believers, or I guess human beings, we're all one family, right? So how us human beings should be safe from one another's kind of actions. Yeah, we shouldn't be we shouldn't feel scared or be harmed by another fellow human being. And if we look at that, going back to what I was saying at the beginning, in this COVID, relationships, separations, divorces are like, the rates are flying through the roof. So just imagine if we were to adopt that beautiful piece of tradition there, like how much harmony there would be in our homes, how much at ease we would be with our own selves, which is really, I want to touch upon that. And I think this is this piece of tradition, this hadith is, mashallah, very relevant, very beautiful in that regard, that we should feel safe around one another. If you're living in a home and from a relationship perspective, we should always try to kind of join bridges, to make alliances, to patch up, repair relationships, heal them. But sometimes if you don't feel safe being around someone, if someone is, if you're not safe from their tongue, like it says here, or someone's actions, or maybe there's physical violence in a relationship, right? Then I'm afraid there are red lines, and sometimes it's a case of like you need to get out of that toxic situation. There is only so much bridge building we can do. In a talking from a relationship perspective, I'm probably more kind of talking about the kind of marital sort of dynamics in this particular example. But definitely, like, there has to be red lines. You both, husband and wife, and you can apply this to relationship with siblings as well, and maybe your boss at work. But you need to know what the boundaries are with each other. If I don't know what will when I'm overstepping the mark, it's very difficult for me to have a meaningful relationship with anyone. So I think it's when you get a job, when you are employed somewhere, they give you a contract. There's a job description. There is there's a whole kind of explanation of what your expectations are, or what the company's expectations are of you. So similarly, if the people we're living with, if we don't have a blueprint, So I recommend this to people. I was speaking to one of my clients in India, I think it was the other day, and I recommended to him that he was going through some marital tension, and I said, why don't you and your spouse actually write up what are the red lines, what are the deal breakers in your relationship, what is the showstopper for you so these are two people who are engaged. They've been engaged for 3 years. There's lots of complications, and they haven't managed to get married as yet. And he's getting very frustrated by that, which is understandable. But the thing is, they need to know what are things that they can and cannot do. And once I have a list of things that will upset my wife or my wife to be, then it makes it a lot easier for when we do actually come together to actually live more peacefully with one another, and to bring this beautiful hadith into practicality, and ensuring that we are safe from each other, and that no harm should be, there should be no fear or any worries or concerns of any harm being brought to us. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's a really good example, and I just thought I'd give kind of a personal insight
Yeah,
into.
no, that's great. That was really good. It just got me thinking as well, like in terms of this can also apply to, like we said at the beginning, about like what about our relationship with ourselves? How kind are we being to ourselves? Like it says here, move on and overlook mistakes. So that's not only for other people but also for yourself. It's
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, guys, we want you guys to give your feedback as well. Like maybe you can give some examples, of situations, where you, maybe you have not felt, 100% comfortable. It could be a work situation, or maybe you can just give us another perspective on what we're sharing with you. So we want to keep the energy high in this session. We've not got too long to go. Like I said, we're not going to go on for too long today, but we really want to be interactive. So please share your thoughts, your comments, your suggestions as we go along. That'd be really, really appreciated.
Yeah, sounds good. Next, something else again that takes us back towards bringing more harmony and ease into our lives is like is another saying from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that make up 70 excuses. I don't know, it was like something like 50 or 70 excuses for your brother and sister before you complain about their behavior, or before you complain that they didn't do something for you, or they didn't visit you, or right now you can't do that anyway, or didn't call you, um, or they didn't clean the table after themselves, which are the little things that get to us at home, or working at home didn't clear up their work after themselves. Or what I'm dealing with more is like my little one, he'll eat fruits and then he'll have the sticky fingers all over the door handles and light switches, and but yeah, it's just they forget, kids forget. So especially for the little ones who are at home with you more and more, like yeah, make up excuses for their mistakes, even if it's they've done it for how many times, and like is again going, if we judge them for it, we're going to lose that connection, and we don't want that. I mean, kids grow up too quickly for us to get caught up in these little things. So make like this is maybe referring to grown-ups. So if it's referring to grown-ups, I would imagine that we need to do even more uh, excuses for kids. So
Yeah.
because they're really innocent in their mistakes, and this is what makes it easier. If you move on, overlook the little mistakes, don't get choose your battles. Let's say there are certain things, yes, you have to put boundaries and things like that, but choose your battles. Let's not make everything into a battle, because that gets tiring for us, and it loses the harmony in the home. Yeah, So making up loads of excuses, overlooking mistakes, or even let's say you did get upset with them, then move on quickly, like say, oh, okay, I'm sorry, and move on quickly, so things don't linger. Because there's nothing worse than people walking around with bad moods and upset faces in the house if we're gonna be all together anyway. So yeah, that's really on, just like move on quickly. And it's gonna be on us, the grown-ups in the house, because we have that responsibility, the experience, the facilities. We can take that first step forward. And it just needs to be one adult in the house who takes that step, and everybody else benefits from it, and they also benefit. Like whatever goodness, whatever first steps you will take, it'll benefit the whole house and you as well. So nobody loses out. Yeah.
I mean, that is a great example. Making excuses. If I mean, right now, if we talk about relationships, the biggest problem, and I was discussing this with Sister Shema actually earlier today. We were talking about relationships, and she's also a coach and has people contacting her quite regularly asking for advice. And she was saying that the majority of the issues are relationship related, breakdown in marriages, to be more specific. And there's things like infidelity is just so rife. And if we look at those two pieces of tradition that you've shared with us there, and it's just beautiful advice. And of course it takes time to be able to practically be able to implement that advice. It's prophetic advice, so it's not necessarily easy to implement for us common folk. But when we do practically do that, when we practically start like restraining ourselves. So like sometimes what I'll do is when I have this negative thought, or if I'm being judgmental, I'll actually like visualize I'm capturing that thought and watching that thought actually drift away. And it works. It doesn't work every time. I'm not going to put my, kind of sit here and say that, I'm a complete kind of monk when it comes to being able to have no attachment with thoughts and, that are going in my, kind of going through my mind. But, if you can capture thoughts, it's a good analogy. Maybe you can try it. Capture the thought, whether you feel like angry towards your spouse, for example, because maybe he or she was rude to you or aggressive towards you, just, and you feel some resentment and you feel like you have to fight your corner, and, that you have to, it's an injustice and you have to speak up. Just capture it, capture that thought, watch it go, watch it just drift away into the, into the distance. And then actually you'll feel actually a little bit more calmer, and it comes with practice. But I guess that is what I'm sharing there, is a practical way to try to implement some of this prophetic advice that we're getting. So that's where the coaching comes into it, I think. Adding that practical element to it. But I think you're going to give an example as well, aren't you, Sophia, of how to actually practically implement this?
Well, yeah. It's not your job to correct every mistake or to point it out or to analyze it. So this is like, again, taking back to like not making it our job to judge and to correct every mistake, and to analyze it, dissect it, try to find billions reasons for it. That's not the point. That's how we make our life really difficult. Like, if I just the example I gave on in terms of earlier on excuses, like my son repeatedly eating fruits while walking around and putting his sticky fingers everywhere. Now I can like analyze it and point it out, and try to like say, why are you doing this? Why can't you remember to just sit down? Why do I have to remind you every time or whatever? It's like that just made my tongue's work like a lot more work, and like it's not necessary. Like there's certain behaviors we can just remind them gently over and over again, and yes, it might get frustrating, but that's how it is. But it's easier than actually sitting down and analyzing it and judging it and all this sort of thing. So it's yeah, it takes practice, it takes becoming aware of it, becoming aware of what you're saying, what you're doing with your, how you're acting, how you're reacting. So it's all about, literally the ultimate thing is awareness. Like how do we become more and more aware of what we say in the moment? And yeah, and it comes down to practice. It comes down to making the intention to use our tongue for good, to do the actions for good, and also to practice more silence. That's another probably very practical step. Like I learned, like for myself as well, like in the past I would make more comments about, you know, let's say even like at the dinner table, the way children are eating, or trying to correct them there and then thinking, oh my god, they're going to grow up to be adults and not know how to eat. But that's not true. Like most kids will eat messy or play with their food, but they don't grow up to be adults who play with their food and eat messy. So there's certain things we just can stay silent about and not have to say. So that's like a way to use our tongue less and to then not cause any harm with it. So maybe that's a very like a practical step I've implemented myself. Like, do I really need to say it? Do I really need to correct that behavior? Because we cannot correct every behavior. We have to overlook, we have to pick and choose, otherwise it gets too much. Otherwise the kid, like whoever you're with, whether it's your partner or your kids, they will just not listen anymore. They will just get fed up of us correcting them and overdoing it. So it's just literally like, yeah, pick and choose and pick your battles. And yeah, also knowing that it's difficult enough to change ourselves. So how can we expect others to just change in the way we want them to be? And yeah, if you're living with another in a relationship partner, they're already a grown-up adult. That's where I guess the deal breakers make a lot of sense, because you need to know your boundaries. There's always going to be give and take in every relationship, and yes, there will you cannot expect others to change in that way. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say on this, I think.
Excellent, excellent. Some really good points there, Sophia. I think really you've hit the nail on the head there with what our approach should be, and I think it's resonating with the people who are watching as well. So Sister Seamus said the ideas of being non-judgmental and of clarifying the red lines / deal breakers in relationships are very inspiring. So thank you for that comment, Shema. I mean, it's obviously it's resonating with our audience, and this is this is the challenge for me, for you, for everyone, regardless of what walk of life, what faith, what religion you are. It's about having that good opinion, and a phrase, the very popular phrase that I like to quote is trade your expectations for appreciation. So when we trade our expectations for appreciation, everything, the whole dynamics, and we're talking about relationships today, but you could apply that in any area of your life. Like when you start appreciating what you have, like for goodness sake, guys, if we're not going to appreciate the fact that we have a spouse, that we have children, that we have family, that we have community, surely out of the people that are on this, Facebook Live or joining us here on Zoom, all of you have at least one of those four things that I mentioned. You've either got a spouse, you've either got children, you've either got siblings, you've either got probably extended family, friends, community. Like, if we're not going to appreciate it now, where everywhere we look in the news, all we're hearing is about mortality rates and infections. I read somewhere today, I try not to read the news, but sometimes obviously we get alerts on our phone. It said in London, 1 in every 30 people are now infected or have been affected with COVID, right? So, like, is that not sufficient reminder for us to be showing shukr, to show gratitude, to show thankfulness? We'll come to this in more, a little bit more. I think you're going to mention something about gratitude, aren't you? In the
If you like more tips on effortless parenting from the inside out and comprehensive training on how to make parenting fun, easy, and effective, watch our free web class on coachsafia.com/gift.